breaking news this evening that the Labour Party intends to sabotage the Supreme Court's ruling. This infatuation, this madness, transmania, in which not just the Labour Party, but as you say, so-called leftists, liberals, and even the Conservative Party, this madness has reached the stage where a Supreme Court ruling is going to be sabotaged by a Labour government led by Keir Starmer. That Labour government is preparing to legislate to overturn the Supreme Court's judgment on what is and what is not a woman. I can promise them this: there'll be plenty of energy from our side in defence of women's rights and in defence of biology and science.
Keir Starmer, the self-proclaimed leader of the Labour Party, has become nothing more than a pathetic puppet for extremist minority groups, trampling over the basic foundations of biology and common sense in British society. George Galloway was absolutely right to call Starmer's actions a political bombshell. Labour is now plotting to overturn the Supreme Court's ruling on biological sex, a landmark victory for the rights of 34 million British women, all to appease a loud, minuscule fraction of the population. This isn't just betrayal. It's a spit in the face of every value Britain has ever fought to defend. While millions of women across the United Kingdom rely on the law to protect their safe spaces, from locker rooms to public bathrooms, Starmer is preparing to throw them under the bus for the sake of insane policies designed to erase the very definition of womanhood. Instead of standing up for the people, Starmer has chosen the coward's path, selling out science, selling out reality, and selling out the very voters who once placed their trust in him. Labour, under Starmer's pathetic leadership, is no longer the party of workers, of justice, or of truth. It has been hijacked by political manipulators, transforming into a vehicle for deranged social experiments. By joining hands with the rotten Tories and the so-called progressives, Starmer is proving that women's rights mean absolutely nothing compared to the approval of a few radical activists on social media.
Well, I very much agree. It's deeply problematic. The point about free speech is very well made. And indeed, the argument we heard earlier from Tahir Ali, I think it was, that goes as follows, that if you criticize Islamophobia as dangerous, that is itself Islamophobic, takes us into a kind of Orwellian sphere of argument completely. Of course, it's an attack on freedom of speech for this reason. Of course, we should all oppose prejudice against anybody, Muslims included. But the term Islamophobia is a term of art that was introduced, it was invented by the Muslim Brotherhood, an extremist Islamist organization, with this specific intention of shutting down all criticism of Islam or the Muslim world. And that includes also what we would call blasphemy, criticism of a religion which is outlawed under law. And that is pretty intolerable. Because, all religions need to be criticized, all communities need to be criticized, and to single out this community as one which is above criticism, and that anyone who criticizes it is therefore racist and Islamophobic, and anyone who, as I said before, criticizes the very notion of Islamophobia as a means of shutting down debate is Islamophobic. This is very much inimical to British tradition.
Now, supporters of this definition, the APPG definition that was brought forward in 2018, which, as I said, included references to things like the rape gangs, to the demographic rise of Muslims within Western populations as examples of Islamophobia. Well, they would say we have laws, we have definitions that apply to anti-Semitism, to other forms of prejudice, and therefore we need this new definition of Islamophobia to basically level the playing field. What would you say to that?
Well, first of all, anti-Semitism is not illegal. What is illegal is to incite crime, is to incite violence and things like that. But, there's lots of stuff that's going on that has always been anti-Semitic. I mean, much of English literature is anti-Semitic, and the Jewish community has never said that that should be outlawed. So that is a non-starter. Also, the comparison between anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, which people who support the Islamophobia definition very much stress, is, in my view, wildly inappropriate for this reason. Islamophobia, as I said, is a term that's invented to shut down all criticism of Islam or the Muslim community. Anti-Semitism is a very specific prejudice which is beyond racism. It has unique characteristics, uniquely murderous characteristics. It is unique in the sense that it demonizes the Jewish community. It holds them responsible for all the ills of the world. It invests them with supernatural abilities to control everything. These and many other characteristics are unique to it and make it uniquely awful and uniquely dangerous. So there is absolutely no comparison between that and a term which is designed to shut down legitimate and necessary debate.
Melanie Phillips has once again stepped into the fray with the kind of clarity and courage so desperately missing from today's political discourse. In an era where free speech is under siege and inconvenient truths are labeled as hate, Phillips decisively obliterates the latest attempts to turn Islamophobia into a criminal offense. She doesn't just argue against it. She rips the entire foundation out from under the movement. Phillips points out a fact that many in the media and political class are too cowardly to mention. The term Islamophobia was not born out of a noble struggle for justice. It was concocted by none other than the Muslim Brotherhood, a terrorist organization with a long and bloody history of exploiting Western guilt to undermine Western freedoms. This isn't a small detail. It is a devastating indictment of the entire campaign. Phillips reminds us that the purpose behind introducing Islamophobia into public discourse was never about protecting innocent Muslims from genuine bigotry. It was, from the start, a cynical and strategic ploy to shut down criticism of Islamist extremism. It was designed to blur the line between legitimate critique of a political religious ideology and actual racial hatred, deliberately conflating the two in order to silence opposition, criminalize dissent, and paralyze Western societies with accusations of racism whenever they dared to defend themselves. Phillips' intervention exposes the absurdity and danger of criminalizing Islamophobia.